we have noticed a lot of activity and people stopping and looking and thinking, our Newcastle, what is that? People are looking in going, it's to let, but there's people in here, what's going on?
Face to face, we are weaving our networks under the trees.
Today is the very final workshop of the On the Town project, which is a project with Keele University, Loughborough University, Coventry University and the New Vic Theatre here in Newcastle-under-Lyme. And so this is our fourth workshop. We've had workshops with local young people talking about the town, the history of the town, where they see it going in the future. We've had workshops with students where they've been talking about what it's like to live on the edge of town and how they'd like to know more about the town. And then in the third workshop, we got the local young people and the students together and got them to chat and interact and think, well, how would we actually meet each other more and how would we forge better relationships between the students and the locals? And so they came up with this idea called the exchange. And the exchange was going to be an empty shop front filled full of activities where people got to talk about themselves, what they like about Newcastle, where they see it going in the future, how they fit in, who they know, who they don't know, and how they might meet new people. And here behind me today, you see actually the exchange in operation. So we've got 4 different tables of activities. We've got a mix of locals, we've got a mix of students, and everybody is here thinking about and talking about Newcastle. Over here we're doing acrostics, so we have the words Our Newcastle and people are writing out a sentence for each one of the letters and then we're putting them on the wall so that everybody can read them and share them. I like this one, shout, we're here, don't forget us. Over here we have people are writing poetry, they're writing haikus and cinquains about Newcastle-under-Lyme.
We are thinking about what was in the past. So what was good about Newcastle? What should be preserved or maybe brought back because it was forgotten? And then we think about the future. For the trunk, we pick an object that is taking us from the past to the future. What should happen, how this journey will look like, or what is happening now.
Here we're having tarot readings where we have some special customized cards with different words and we're getting people to talk about Newcastle, past, present and future, and their ideas for how to regenerate the community.
These are the cards that were made today by the participants who took part in the kind of tarot reading. So as you can see by these ones, they're not a traditional tarot card set. They were made by community members on another social haunting project. They were quite specifically looking at things like the loss of industry and coal mining and that kind of stuff and the effect that it has. So they created these cards. So the way that we've used them today is in a kind of tarot spread, is that we've asked questions about the town and how people feel about the town and how that works. And then we've cut the cards out and we've looked at the present, the past and the resources that we have based on what cards came up. And then at the end of that, we've asked people to create their own cards. Like someone came up with glue because we've been talking about not sticking together and kind of doing stuff together and there being difficulties. We had the puzzle, which came up in another reading, in a separate reading later on, and we noticed that there's a piece missing and they were talking about the fact there's lots of things happening in Newcastle, but they're not necessarily together, but the pieces are there.
In the far corner, we're mapping the assets of Newcastle through something called the button game, which Sue Moffat from the New Vic developed. You get people to order and sort all these buttons and then create an ideal society. And in doing that, you actually are mirroring the resources in your own community and thinking about what you have, thinking about what you'd like more of, thinking of issues that you'd like to change. So after you've done the initial sort, you can then start making community boundaries with all the different tapes. And you can think, well, this is the student area, this is the shopping area, this is the residential area, and are there overlaps? Would you go to this area but not that area? So it's a very interesting and safe way of figuring out what people think about the communities and, you know, do they think there are no-go areas, problem spots, areas they'd love to live in? Why would you like to live there? Sometimes we have a lot of local history that we know and local stories and anecdotes that aren't written down anywhere. And so our days like today are an opportunity to share those stories and learn something about our community that we never knew before. We're going to have a forum at the end of the day thinking about where next. I think an important thing about cultural animation and events like these is that people feel that what you do on an individual level can make a difference. So it's not so much about complaining about the government doing nothing, complaining about the council doing nothing, but just realising that the very, very small things that you do yourself can make other people feel better. And if you have enough of that going on, that people can actually think, actually, I like this place, I like this community, it has stuff going on, it's a good place to live. So it's rather than sitting and complaining, we're all trying to do our small bit to make the world a better place.